Welcome to the Four Seasons Podcast, brought to you by B&H Wealth Strategies, serving Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia since 1966. Here, we guide you through the ever-changing seasons of your financial journey, offering insights to help you grow, protect, and enjoy your wealth. Ready to turn your financial dreams into reality? Dare to dream. And now, here's your host, President of B&H Wealth Strategies, Jeff Bingham.
Success isn't built overnight. In this episode, we explore why long-term planning outperforms shortcuts and how to build a strategy that actually sticks. Welcome back, everyone. Skip Monty, co-host / producer, back in the studio with Jeff Bingham, president of B&H Wealth Strategies. Jeff, how have you been this week?
I've been very well, Skip. How about you?
I'm doing just fine. And, you know, I was thinking from the last episode we recorded, talk interest rates and financial policy changes. And your advice was, stay the course. Depends on your individual plan. Don't make any quick, overarching decisions without talking to somebody like you. So I think that dovetails right into what we want to talk about today, which is, let's talk about why a proven plan beats a quick fix when planning your financial future. Take it away.
Yeah, and I think it does just kind of, it's a very good segue what we were talking about in the last episode. So, and I was thinking about the topic that this is, a proven plan is, better than a quick fix kind of thing. And I'm not even sure that I know exactly what a quick fix would be in a financial plan. As I started just kind of thinking about it and kind of tossing it around in my mind, I know that in the world that we live in today, we look for quick fixes of everything. We want to find a way to make a lot of money. We want to invest, in meme stocks and all these kind of things. And, I'm not saying that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but if that's part of your big picture plan, like your plan, like the future you, then God help you and good luck, with that. Because, just the idea of that, I kind of, makes me shudder, thinking how to have a quick fix to your financial plan. I know there's, from advertising to social media and everywhere you can look, there's always the advice, and you can get there quicker. You can do these things. You can use options. You can do all these kind of things. Yeah, and maybe some people can, and maybe some people can use those kind of exotic things, and maybe they can really, leverage and get these, asymmetrical, out of line returns, beat the market. I think that, to me, what a quick fix is in a financial plan, I guess, and maybe I'll let you kind of define what you might think that it is. I think that that's where people have expectations, unrealistic expectations, or some way that they can outsmart the market, figure out a place to be, put some money in and watch that money go up, double very quickly, or have some kind of, exponential return on that. Like, in other words, maybe, and we've talked a bit about it. Well, I was going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin, but I might not get this aired. So maybe I shouldn't say that, but something like a cryptocurrency where, you kind of see it and everybody else has kind of jumped into it. And then you think, well, that's the way to make a lot of money quickly. Right. And you pour some money into that, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work out, and it goes down and you get disenchanted. That's typically what quick fixes, kind of occur for people, is that they invest in something once they've heard about it, and that train has left the station, and you try to jump on it when it's already going 100 miles an hour, and you don't make it, right? It doesn't work. You're just going to get splattered, using that analogy right there. And so that's to me what a quick fix is, versus a prudent financial plan, as we refer to it, is sitting down with someone like myself across the table and really just putting all your cards, out there, and not just looking at, again, I use this every time, and I will again until I'm done doing this. Where are you? Right. So that's the first thing that we want to find out. And the where are you is that you're going to tell me what your present financial picture looks like, or me or anybody else, or tell yourself that honestly, perhaps, when you're doing it. And that's, I've got a 401k, and here's where my money is. Here's where my debts are, and then you go to the next is where do I want to go? Right. what do I want the future me or the future family to look like? And so that's where you begin to sit there and, if I'm doing my job, I give my clients hopefully they feel like this. But man, if you get people to start talking about that, they will paint a picture of where they want to go, you know, and then you begin to kind of develop the third part of that, which is understanding what their risk tolerance is. I mean, it kind of goes opposite of what we were talking about on quick fix. As I kind of defined a quick fix as they're trying to find a way to make a bunch of money in an investment strategy real quickly, versus almost nobody has that kind of appetite really for risk. The only time they're okay with that is if it works, right? But the problem is oftentimes is it doesn't work. And when you have even a true investment strategy that matches your risk tolerance, and a risk tolerance, way you come up with risk tolerance is through, it's kind of an art and a science. I mean, we have little, scoring tests that we can give people and ask them certain questions, but it really is, and we use them, but you can talk to people for 15 minutes to an hour, and you can find out where their risk tolerance is most of the time. And then you can also look at their current investments if they got a 401k plan, and oftentimes that risk tolerance that they're talking about that you're beginning to identify and helping them identify for themselves and what they're doing in their 401k plan, they're kind of doing on their own, right? The 401k plan is a kind of a do-it-yourself. Here's your investment choices. Good luck. I mean, that's what kind of your employer does. And those things are oftentimes just wildly mismatched. Like, I'm very conservative. I don't want to take a lot of risk. And you look and they've got, all their money in the company that they work with and, a growth mutual fund, like is 100% stocks. You're like, well, that's not a conservative stance, right? Or it could be just the opposite. You could flip it, turn that upside down. It could be just the opposite of that. And so, I say all that to say, but that's where you begin to develop truly a prudent financial plan. It is a honest conversation, not only with yourself. I think an investor or a client of mine has to really, have to be honest with themselves and be honest with me. And if that honesty and that trust, right? So this is not so what I always say is that what we're looking for with our clients this is not a transaction. You've got some money you want to invest and you want to do it. That's a transaction. What we're looking for is a transformational relationship to where we want to get to know you, the one size fits one that I come back to all the time, kind of our 4 seasons approach, which is really getting to know you, to develop a relationship. And like I said, if this business has been here, B&H Wealth Strategies has been around, it'll be 60 years on April 1st next year. And,
Wow.
and that's, it's quite extraordinary, and we use the term around here that, we're a family business and family is our business. So we've got multi-generational families. So we're building long-term transformational relationships with our clients. I have no interest in a transactional relationship. Now, there's a lot of advisors, a lot of ways to do transactional relationships, and I'm in a transactional business. The financial service industry, the investment services industry by nature is transactional, right? Buy and sell stocks, buy and sell ETFs, all the things we've talked about. But transactions are just what we have to do to put that conversation, to put your plan together, right? We don't want to be transformational in that relationship and just trying to hope, here, I've got some money. What do you think I ought to do? How should I invest this money? And when people ask me that, I've got $50,000, I got $100,000. How should I invest my money? And they'll just ask me, that'll be the first thing they ask me. And I'll go, I have absolutely no idea. No. How would I know? Right. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Isn't that what you do, for a living? I'm like, yeah, well, kinda. But what I really do for a living is I have conversations and relationships with clients and families over a long period of time. So I understand exactly where you are, where you want to go, and how you want to get there. And I'm going to help you do that. And then we're going to figure out together where this $50,000 or whatever that number is that you're talking about investing today is, what does everything else look like? Give me, put all your cards on the table. Just like if you go to your doctor, your general practitioner, if you only tell him part of what's going on or part of how you feel or all those kind of things, if you don't tell him you're allergic to penicillin and you got a cold or something like that, you need an antibiotic and he gives you penicillin, it'll kill you. And the same thing is true on my side of the table. If I just took $50,000, invested it the way that I saw fit, right, the way that I think this client wants me to do it without knowing anything else, I mean, it's malpractice. And like I said, I mean, there are ways to do it. You want to go do that kind of on your own, good luck with it. But if you want to sit down and talk with someone like myself at B&H Wealth Strategies, we're gonna dig into this thing, and there's not anything we're gonna do, in that first meeting. We're gonna get to know each other. You can ask me anything you want about the firm, get to know me, develop that relationship, develop a bond of trust, because at the end of the day, this business is all about trust.
All about trust. Very good advice. Well, speaking of advice, and before we started recording, we were talking about younger folks, another subject, but what's your advice for somebody just starting out and starting to think about their financial future?
Put yourself on the payroll first, start saving now, and, figure out how much money you can do it. There'll always be things that'll be pulling at you. My dad used to always say, and I use a lot of my dad's sayings, that we would sit down and talk to people, and it's whether you make a lot of money, whether you make, an average amount of money, whether you make a little bit of money, if you put yourself on the payroll first, maybe tithing is first, you may be putting God on the payroll first. That's a different conversation. Put yourself on the payroll first before everything begins to pull on you, before you start buying the material things that you need to have, and you'll be a financial success, whether you're rich, poor, or in between. And rich as in income, because you can make a lot of income your entire life, have a very, high paying job, but spend, and you will not be a financial. You have looked like you're a financial success, but you'll get out there at the end of the runway, as you get closer and you want to step into retirement, or you want to leave your kids a legacy, or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you got nothing, right? That job goes away, and you look into your coffers and they're empty, right? The income stream is stopped. But if you're of modest income throughout your life, but you put yourself, on the payroll first, you'll end up at the end of the day when you're, 60, 65 years old, and all of a sudden it's the millionaire next door. All of a sudden that person that looked like they were, the white collar worker, someone like myself that dresses and, that works with their mind and their hands and makes money, versus the person, the blue collar person that's working but put themselves on the payroll first. At the end of the day, that person has the blue collar person from Eastman being the classic example of this over the years, that had a modest income, worked their butts off out there, worked overtime, funded that 401k plan. They walk in here, we call it the millionaire next door. There's a book called The Millionaire Next Door, and they've got a portfolio that's got $1 million in it, versus talking to the doctor, the lawyer, the attorney that's been working all their life and, driving nice cars, living in big homes, and they come in and say, look, they would be looking for that quick fix, right? Think about it. They'd be looking for that quick fix. Like all of a sudden, my health's failing. I'm 65 years old. I can't work much longer. I've got $10,000 in a savings account and a bunch of, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what it is. So it is always put yourself on the payroll first, start early, and never stop doing it. And you will be amazed at how much money, as you enter into the workplace, that you will have, when you get there to 55, 60, 65 years old, kind of at the end of wherever your goal of retirement is, assuming that's a goal. I kind of look at it as not, we use the word retirement, we can say that we're the retirement planning specialist, but really what we're looking for is financial freedom. What I really preach and talk about more than anything else, and probably preach about it, is you want to get yourself in a position to control your own destiny, right? And so you want, it's the roadmap. We want to build a roadmap to your financial freedom. And like I said, in the earlier you start, man, it's amazing how much money you can accumulate. But it's hard to start when you're young too, because again, you want to buy the house, you're gonna have kids, you're gonna, you want the car, you want the, you want the prestige of the things. And when we see our neighbors, and everywhere we turn, online or we're watching TV and commercials, the algorithms are set up to not allow us to put ourselves on the payroll first. I mean, right?
Yep.
I mean, we got credit cards,
Yep.
We got, buy now, pay later, schemes that are out there now, with the what is it? I can't think of the couple of the companies that are out. I mean, it's really, it's almost, it's not criminal, but maybe it should be. Hopefully I won't get scratched
Agreed.
out of this, but I mean, it is, and it's, it does it to us as at our age, but think as you're coming out of college and you just get inundated with that all the time, and you're on your social media sites, and they know that algorithm knows exactly where to take you and tempt you and tell you need those things, right? You got to have the newest, the brightest, the shiniest, the best. Keeping up. It's the old expression going back is, I don't know when it started, but keeping up with the Joneses, right? We all are in our human flesh way. We are always comparing ourselves to our contemporaries, our neighbors, our peers, and that's, and we've got to, I think if you can get away from that, you put some money aside as a young person, you can, this world it seems like it's stacked against you. I get that. We were talking about interest rates in another episode, and cost of houses, and, the average, not less than 10 years ago, I think I'm right on this, and maybe slightly off on my stat, the average age of a first-time home buyer was 30 years old. It is now 38 years old.
Wow.
And that's, and that's a shame, and I talk to, people that I know. I mean, my wife's daughter just thinks there's, she's a nurse and she makes good money, and she thinks there's no way and she's putting some money aside, but she thinks there's no way that she'll ever be able to own a home. And those are the things that need to be addressed. And, I don't know as an advisor how much of that I can help with that, and I can talk with that. I mean, I think there are ways to do it, but it requires some sacrifices that the world is stacking against you, to think that those sacrifices are worth that to be able to get and buy that home, right? Because I got to have the newest, smart TV. I got to have the newest iPhone. I've got to have the newest, whatever it is, and I got to go to Starbucks. And I'm not trying to pick on all these companies necessarily, but man, that's what it looks like out there. We've lost. Now I guess I'm on my soapbox and preaching a little bit, but there's a reason why, for the most part, we're not called citizens anymore. We're called consumers. We're thought of by corporate America, and to some degree the government, we're thought of as consumers, not as citizens anymore. And I think we need to claim our citizenship back.
Amen, brother. Claim our citizenship and put ourselves back on the payroll.
That's
great advice.
Amen.
Well, Jeff, thanks for the insight once again. And at you next time to continue helping folks turn their financial goals into reality and achieve financial freedom. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Skip. Have a great weekend, and see you soon. God bless.
All right, brother. You too.
Thanks for tuning into the Four Seasons Podcast, brought to you by B&H Wealth Strategies, where your financial success is our priority. Schedule your free 20-minute consultation today by calling 423-247-1152 or by visiting bhretire.com. Take the first step toward making your financial dreams come true. Until next time, remember, every season is the right season to plan for your future. Securities and registered investment advisory services offered through Silver Oak Securities, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. B&H Wealth Strategies and Silver Oak Securities, Inc. are not affiliated.